Hello students, so we have reached the last part of the chapter that we're going to start now, that is called as liquid state. So as you know, when we start only we said that we're going to study about gaseous state and liquid state. So now when we talk about liquid, the general properties of liquids that we had studied in the beginning, we're going to just revise them in short. You know, liquids, they do not have a definite shape, but they have a definite volume. Similarly, talking about liquids, the density of liquids is lesser than the solids, but more than gases. And if I talk about liquids, they are compressible, but the molecular space between liquids is very less. So we can say they are compressible, but lesser as compared to gases. And the last, if I talk about diffusion, you know, diffusion is mixing of two or more gases or two or more liquids. So as gases have too much of empty space, they can mix very easily. But when I talk about liquids, the space in between them is very less, and therefore the diffusion is less in comparison to gases. Talking about some other properties of liquids that we're going to start, the very first, you can see, we're going to study about vapor pressure. You can see I have taken a beaker containing liquid and I have kept it in presence of sunlight. What will happen to the glass of liquid? You can see after some time, the level of water will go down. When I say the level of water will go down, means the water will start evaporating. The process of evaporation takes place. Now, when I say here, also the liquid is getting converted into gas. Yes, we said the state at which the liquid is converted to vapor. So, what do you understand by boiling? You know, boiling is what we say, it's the temperature at which liquid gets converted into gas. So, here is liquid getting converted to vapor. What's the difference between both of them? You know, we have heard about a term boiling point, but we have never heard about evaporation point. Boiling point means it is a temperature at which the liquid boils. We know water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So we say boiling takes place at only one temperature. Whereas evaporation, if I say water, if you take a glass of water and you keep out in the sunlight, it will evaporate. It's not necessary that it will evaporate only at 100. It can evaporate at a range of temperature. So we say it's all temperature evaporation can take place. Next, boiling is a bulk phenomena. Bulk means all the molecules from overall molecules will be involved. But when we talk about evaporation, when I say liquid gets converted to vapor, it's only the molecules which are present at the surface. And therefore, we say evaporation is a surface phenomena. So the very first property that we're going to start is vapor pressure. To understand vapor pressure, you can say I've taken a beaker or I can say a glass containing a liquid and I am going to heat it. But before that, what I have done is I have covered the glass of liquid with a lid. So when I heat it, what happens is, first of all, the molecules which are present on the surface, they'll start evaporating. And as the heating continues, what happens is molecules from the bulk, they'll also move towards the surface. And as they move towards the surface, they're also going to get converted into vapor. So as the process of heating increases, the molecules at the surface will get converted into liquid. So I can say liquid gets converted into vapor. Sorry, liquids gets converted into vapor, or you can say gas. As the molecules, they come from the surface to the vapor, or I can say from liquid to gas or from liquid to vapor, what happens is these molecules are going to hit the lid container. They're going to hit the lid of the container. When they hit the lid of the container, what happens is they will lose all the kinetic energy that they have gained on heating. So when they lose that kinetic energy, again that molecule, gas molecule or vapor molecule, will get converted into liquid. So as the rate of evaporation increases, more and more molecules from the surface will be getting converted into vapor, and more molecules will be hitting the lid of the container, and therefore more of the molecules which have been converted to vapor will be getting converted into liquid back. So in this way, as the rate of evaporation increases, rate of condensation will also increase. Means the molecules, they'll get converted from liquid to vapor, vapor to liquid, and in that way the molecules which are getting converted from liquid to vapor, then vapor to liquid, they'll be coming back on the surface of the liquid. Means we say they'll be establishing an equilibrium. So when they establish that equilibrium between liquid and vapor, when the vapor molecules are getting converted into liquid back, they're going to apply pressure on the liquid surface. The pressure that they apply is called as vapor pressure. We say vapor pressure is what? It is the pressure exerted by the vapors of the liquid on the surface of the liquid, the pressure exerted by the vapors of the liquid on the surface of the liquid when equilibrium is established between liquid and vapor. When the equilibrium is established between liquid and vapor, that is called as vapor pressure. Talking about the factors affecting vapor pressure, the very first is volatility. When I say volatility, means it is a tendency of a liquid to escape in vapor. Means more volatile the liquid, more easily it will get evaporated. So we say vapor pressure is more for volatile liquids. As we talk about water and acetone, you know, acetone, it's a volatile liquid, so it will have more vapor pressure as compared to water. Second, temperature. As you can see, when you increase the temperature, the molecules liquid gets converted into vapor. More the number of molecules, more will be the vapor pressure. So we say vapor pressure of liquid increases with increase in temperature. The unit that is used for vapor pressure is torr, and normally we say vapor pressure is measured using mercury manometer. We normally say, you can see the very common unit for vapor pressure is torr. As I said, 1 torr is equals to 1 mm of Hg. Next, we are going to study about the second important property of liquid. To understand that, you can see I have taken a beaker containing liquid. Again, you can see when I talk about the molecules, liquid molecules, the molecules are present in the bulk and the molecules are also present on the surface. So if I take any one molecule from the bulk, you can see that molecule is surrounded by so many molecules. Means I can say, if I'm sitting in the middle bench, I'll have my students sitting in front of me and I'll be having students sitting in back of me. So if any teacher asks me a question, I have friends to ask or I have friends to hide behind them. So I can ask questions or help from the front bench students or from the left bench, last bench students. Same way, when the molecule is in the bulk, there are molecules in at the top, I can say, and there are molecules at the bottom. So if the molecules are pulling, if all the molecules are pulling the central molecule towards itself, I can say what happens is it is getting attracted equally from all sides. And because of that, I can say it is having a balanced force. The molecule is stable and therefore is in no tension. But what happens when a kid sits on the front bench or on the first bench? He's always in tension that the teacher might ask a question to him and he'll be the first one. He'll not be able to hide himself in front of his friends and he'll not be able to even ask help from his friends. So he'll be under certain tension. Same way, when I say a molecule is present on the surface, there are molecules which are pulling him downwards, but there are no molecules pulling him upwards. Because of that, I can say mu molecule is not attracted from all sides. Yes, and that way, if the molecule is pulled inside, what happens is the forces are not balanced. The molecule is unstable, and we say the molecules which are on the surface, they are always under some tension. We say as the molecules are pulled inside, they will appear to behave as a stretched membrane and always be under tension. That property of liquid is called as surface tension. So we say surface tension is what? The force acting per unit length perpendicular to the imaginary line. You can see, we know when I talk about liquid, liquid cannot be a straight line. So we're just going to imagine that it's a straight line and the force which is acting perpendicular to that imaginary line, which is drawn on the surface of a liquid. Surface tension is what? It is the force acting per unit length perpendicular to the imaginary line drawn on the surface of a liquid. Talking about surface tension, you can see some of the common examples where you can see surface tension in your daily life. You can see we normally go to the beaches, we normally throw stones in the water. So you might have seen water splashing out when you're trying to apply or kick to the waves. You might have seen the force that you feel when you are applying kick on the upper layers of the waves and on the lower layer. In the lower layers, you have to apply more force because the molecules are closely attached to each other, and in the upper layer there will be tension, so there will be less force that you apply. So we say, what's the unit of surface tension? The unit of surface tension is force per unit length. As you can see, force is measured using Newton and length is measured using meter. So we can say the unit of surface tension is Newton per meter. The other common examples or applications of surface tension, the very first is cleansing action by soap and detergent. Why do we use soap? We cannot remove the oil and dirt from your clothes very easily when you just wash it with water. You normally use soap or detergent. What happens is when you use soap and detergent, the soap will be able to penetrate into the fiber, and when it penetrates into the fiber, it can penetrate only because of soap and detergent, because the soap and detergent, they lower the surface tension. Because they lower the surface tension, the soap solution is able to penetrate into your cloth fiber, and because of that, it will surround the oily particles, and when it surrounds the solid particles, when you put water on it, it can be washed away. So that's a very important application of surface tension. Second, we say it's a very useful for increasing the efficacy of toothpaste, mouthwashes, and nasal drops. Because these particles, when you have lower surface tension, they'll be able to penetrate through the skin. So, lowering the surface tension increases their efficiency of their penetrating action. The third property that we are going to study, before that we can just revise what was surface tension. Surface tension was the force acting per unit length to the imaginary line drawn on the surface of a liquid. We saw its unit was Newton per meter, and the applications of surface tension. Moving ahead, the third term that we have, or the third property of liquid that we have, is viscosity. You can see I have two pictures. In the first one, I can say I have honey, and second I have is a glass containing water. Now, my question is, which one is viscous? We all can obviously compare that honey will be more viscous than water. So we say water can easily flow, whereas the if you talk about honey, if you drop it, if you might be pouring it from one container to another, you might have seen how it flows very slowly. So we say the flowability of honey is less, means honey is more viscous. So if I talk about viscosity in terms of fluidity or flowability, you can see it is the resistance to the flow of liquid, means the liquid is not interested in flowing, it resists the flow. That is called as viscosity. The resistance to the flow of liquid is called as viscosity. You know, liquids, they normally flow, and that flow is called as laminar flow. So you can see over here, when I say I have liquids flowing, so you can see we are imagining that they are flowing in layers. More the friction, less the viscosity. You can see when we talk about layers, the layers, if I say I have layers one above the another, so the layer which is at the bottom, the layer which is at the bottom will have more layers above it, and because of that there will be more friction, and it faces less viscosity. What does this mean? Like if you say, if you are taking oil, and when you're dropping that oil at one point, and you're say taking water and dropping at the same point, so if you see, they both will travel. But if you come back at the original point, you can see you'll be able to see very small quantity of water but more quantity of oil. Why that happens? Because in case of oil, there'll be more friction, and therefore the viscosity is will less. Sorry, more the friction, the velocity is less. And we talk about water. Water has lesser friction as compared to oil, and therefore you'll be able to see very less quantity of water at that certain point. We say the lowest layer is almost stationary, because it's not going to show you any movement or very less movement, because the above layers, they're going to create some force of friction. Because of friction, the velocity decreases. So you can see liquids, as they flow in layers, in between the ones which are flowing in between, they have a higher velocity. Like if I talk about opening a water tap, so when I'm opening the water tap, the one which are flowing in between, they'll have higher velocity, but the ones which are at the marginal layer will be flowing with lesser viscosity. Talking about viscosity, the unit that is used for measuring viscosity is Newton second per meter square. That is your SI unit. Otherwise, we can also measure it using poise. That is, one poise is equal to 1 gram per centimeter per second, or we can say 10 raised to minus 1 kg per meter per second. The unit of measurement of viscosity is mostly done by taking eta, and that eta, that is CGS unit, is measured using poise, or the SI unit is Newton second per meter square. Talking about the factors affecting viscosity, the very first is molecular shape and size. You can see if there are more bigger the size, more molecules might be. If the size of the molecules is bigger, what happens is they'll have more viscosity, and the viscosity is more, the flow of the liquid will be less. We say larger molecules will have more viscosity. As the number of molecules increases, it will become more thicker. More thicker means more the viscosity. Second, talking about temperature. You all might have seen ghee or dalda. When you talk about ghee, what happens is when you heat ghee, it gets converted into a liquid mixture. So what happens is the viscosity, when you convert from ghee to that liquid, the viscosity decreases. So I can say when you increase the temperature, viscosity decreases. Third, as I said, viscosity is expressed in terms of coefficient of viscosity, eta, which is measured in terms of poise, and the SI unit was Newton second per meter square. Talking about the common illustrations of viscosity, the very first one is lubricating oils. Lubricating oils, they have very good viscosity, and therefore we use them in using mostly for your I can say for lubricating your engine parts in your cars or vehicles. We normally grade lubricating oils on the basis of their change in temperature. Like if the quality of lubricating oil, the quality of lubricating oil is sorry, if the quality of lubricating oil is same, even if there is a change in temperature, it's a good quality lubricating oil. But if you increase the temperature and the viscosity decreases, it means it's not a good quality lubricating oil. Same way when we talk about blood. If your blood is more viscous, it can lead to cardiovascular disease or diseases related to your heart. Talking about viscosity, you need to know when we talk about glass. Glass, we assume it to be a solid, but no, glass is a highly viscous liquid. We normally also call glass as an amorphous solid because glass, when you subject it to lower temperature and high pressure, it can be easily converted into solid. So we normally also call it as a solid, but it's an amorphous solid. Glass, we say, is a highly viscous liquid. How do we understand that? You can see if I talk about a very old building, and if you take the window, normally, if I talk about the window panes of the old building, you can see the side view of the glass. Repeating again, you can see if I talk about the side view of the glass, you can see the thicker part is thicker part. The bottom part is thicker, whereas the upper part, it's not that thick. Why? Because what happens is when the buildings become old, means I can say the glass panes or the window panes which are present, they have been present from a long time. As sun rays fall on that windows, as sun rays fall on those windows, what happens is the glass starts melting. As the glass starts melting, they do not get converted into liquid directly. It takes a long time. As a heat we talk about, it's not that very high. So the liquid starts flowing down and it gets accumulated at the bottom. And therefore you can see we say the bottom is very much thicker as compared to the upper part. So this is also a very common example of viscosity. Glass, you need to remember, is a very highly viscous liquid. So today we have studied about three important properties of liquid. Starting with the very first, we studied about vapor pressure. You can see vapor pressure we studied, it is the pressure exerted by the vapors of the liquid on the surface of the liquid when equilibrium is established between liquid and vapor. So you'll write down first properties of liquid, first vapor pressure, you'll write down this definition. Second, you'll write down these factors affecting vapor pressure. Second, we studied about surface tension. You can write down the definition. You can even write down its unit. We can also write down the applications of surface tension. Third is viscosity. When I say viscosity, viscosity is the resistance to the flow of liquid. We also say that viscosity is nothing but the flow of liquid in layers. Yes, we normally imagine the liquid to be flown in layers, and if there's more friction, there'll be less viscosity, and therefore they normally have a laminar flow. When they are flowing from a top tap, or when they are flowing in a circular motion, the one which is at the center will be having more flow and less friction. And because of that, the ones which are at the outer marginal layers, they'll be flowing with the less velocity. Talking about measurement of viscosity is done using coefficient of viscosity, that is eta, that is measured using poise. The SI unit is Newton second per meter square. And the different factors affecting viscosity, we have molecular size and shape, second temperature. Talking about the illustration of viscosity, we studied first was lubricating oil. Second, we saw that if the blood becomes more denser or more viscous, It leads to heart or cardiovascular diseases, because when we talk about blood being more viscous, the flow of the blood through the arteries becomes very slow, and it leads to those diseases. And third was glass. Glass is a highly viscous liquid, which can be explained through this example. So I hope you have understood the three important properties of liquid that we have studied now. And from this, we can say the chapter states of matter is completed.